Hey there. So today what we're going to do is we're going to pick up where we left off, and we are going to import tile sets and use them. Now I've gone ahead and set them up, but I'm going to show you what I'm doing. So I'll just switch over here to screen capture. And just to give you a refresher, we set this up with the WSAD and the move keys, and we just set up a grid to give us motion so we could set the speed for the character motion. So what I've gone ahead and done, you can see he's jittering a bit fast here. On the other level, I've gone ahead and set up a test level here with my tile set in here, and I've also taken the player and I've slowed the player down in his motion so that his idle's a little bit slower and stuff. Now as far as these tile sets go, I'll just show you quickly here. If I go into the tile set, and if I go to ground layer, what I've done is I've set up these isometric tile sets that I'm working on. Now if I zoom right in here, you can see there's still a little bit of a border around them. And that's actually, right now, that's fine because I'm working on flushing them out and making them really good content for the game, or for the game or for other games. For basically, I'm aiming RGP games or RTS strategy or turn-based RTS, things like that, sort of. There's a whole bunch of Japanese style direct 2D looking down tile sets available out there that look pretty decent. There's a bunch from RGP Maker and a whole bunch of other vendors. People make their own a lot, but there's not a whole lot of good ones. There's like one or two that are out there for an isometric view. So what I've done is I've created, or I'm working on, I'm still flushing them out, these tile-based isometric tiles, so that they kind of can drop down in a grid and they can give you a pretty decent looking ground. Now by themselves they don't look too spectacular, but once you start layering up and adding things on them, they look good. Now I am planning to smooth out the edges of them here so that they actually they don't look as transitional, like grid-like. So that should be a little bit smoother in the future. This is very early on in the development of them. I'm hoping to have this first set ready, I don't know, maybe by April, and then it'll probably be a while before I add any expansions to it, if they sell, if people like them. I think they're a great asset. I think they offer a good generic style that people can use. But I really like the Baldur's Gate 2 and the Diablo 2, that sort of style isometric tile set. So I'm trying to build my own here, but I'm also trying to make them really easy drag and drop. So on that note, what I've done is I built them in Krita. First I started with Blender. I had a 3D plane, and then I kind of rendered that plane out, added a little bit of noise to it, and then kind of bumped it up and down. Got the camera set at 30 degrees and rendered them out. Had the exact same settings for each type of terrain that I assigned, and then I just reassigned a different terrain to that plane, and then I export it out, or render it out actually into a JPEG file, then take it into Krita and work with it. So that's what I've got going on here. A lot of this work is Krita, so once I've got that base set up, that took me about an hour to set up the base how I wanted, about half an hour to do the second one afterwards. But I started with the ground, and then I added the grass on top of the ground and just layered it using a hair system. Then I rendered that out. Then I came into Krita and I used my clone brush, my eraser brush, multiple layers, just lining things out. So not to overcomplicate things for you or go down that path, but there was a lot of prep done to make these tiles, and now they're easy to touch up in the master Krita document as I'm aligning them and working with them, and that's pretty easy to do. You just drag them in, it refreshes them, and then you can view them in your grid setup. Now for these, the tile size set up is 264 by 153. And what that does is that sets up an isometric grid to match that 30-degree camera angle. Because at a 30-degree camera angle, you're not a perfect square rotated into a diamond shape. You're skewed a little bit. So that's what that is. So what you are is 153 tall by 264 across. That's how it ended up working out for me. So I kept that size, and I'm just working with that size. I probably could have resized these to be like a more 256-ish or a 128 or something like that. But I just worked with what I had and replicated it across. All right, so that being said, now you just set the tile set up to match. And set up. So it's set up down here, 264 by 153. I have no separation and no margins, and I also have no physics layer on these because your character's going to walk on this. This is the base ground. So in order to paint this on the ground, I simply add more grass by coming over here to tile map, selecting that tile, and you'll see here that it's this whole area, but it's a diamond-like shape. And so when that paints down, it paints into the, oh, I got my eraser brush on, sorry about that, paints in. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a bunch here, just to show you. I plan on putting a tree in there, so I don't want to wreck that tree. But this should be enough here now. One more row down this way. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come into here, find the appropriate tiles. Alright, looks like this one's the appropriate tile. So I'm just gonna slap that in there, slap that in there. Then this one here needs a corner. Actually, we're gonna slap that one in there, and we're gonna take that one. Out of there, and then this one can go, oh, turn off my eraser brush, sorry, like that. That corners, you know what, that's gonna be, going to be problematic because I don't have an inside curve to work with there. However, I'm just going to just dummy those over. And then I'm just going to simply put this corner in here. Bang. Not going to put anything there just because I haven't done those yet. Still working on those, but we'll just add some desert around here. And you can even hard edge them, like if I go here, I can hard edge that and it just sticks out. Lots of people do that, you don't even need to transition. However, I do like my transition, so I'm going to transition. And then over here, fill all that in. Good enough. Just get that finished off. Okay, so now there you see me paint a base layer down. You see how my tile set works. And I do have a stump on the ground there, but I just want to show you what the base ground looks like now. You can see there's the grid. Transitions out here into this grid, and you can still see there's a bit of a grid. Now, like I said, I am going to work on making that a smoother transition so the grid isn't quite as pronounced. But for now, it works fine for me because it lets me know my edges when I'm developing top cover, trees, etc., etc. Plus, as you layer up, it tends to go away, which I'm going to show you next. So we're going to close that off. So now I've set up another layer on top of that called ground cover. Then I've set up another layer on top of that called stumps. Then my player is dropped in. Then I have another layer called trees. Now how this works, as you come down the list towards the bottom, things get closer and closer to the camera and further away from the ground or the bottom level. So as you're working your way up, one layer sits on top of the other layer, sits on top of the other layer. So we're going to go over here to ground layer now. And what I'm going to do is on this ground layer, I'm going to zoom in a bit. There's some flowers. There's some ferns. I'm going to put some of these flowers here. Actually, no, I don't want them there. I want these leaves there. Oh, eraser's still on. Sorry about that. These leaves there. There. And I'll put some of these leaves over there. Perfect. And maybe there. Okay. So now I've got those on the ground layer. Or on the ground cover layer. And I'll show you how that looks. There we go. So we're walking on top of the leaves, and you see they mesh quite nicely on top of that grid. And already they're detracting a bit from the grid pattern. And as you move, it also does. Come over here to the ferns, just to quickly show you the ferns. There's some ferns, so you could quickly set this up as like a forest floor, and I'll show you that in a minute here. Okay. So now what we've done is we have, I've already pre-placed the stump because I did a little bit of setup with that, but I'll show you that. That's on the next layer, the stump. And what I did was I set it up, I set it up here, and then in the physics layer down here, I have these polygons set where I can move them around, and they're actually a grid blocking out this tree so that my character doesn't move. Let you go there. There we are, perfect. So basically, this area, I just don't want the character to be able to walk into that area. That's a collision mesh I've set up. We've gone over that before, but I just wanted to show that to you. Perfect, okay. So now, tile map. And then what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna go to the eraser. And I'm going to undo the eraser. And I'm going to put that tree right there. Bang. So now we've got a tree over top of the leaves, a tree stump. It's ready to go. It's got a collision layer. So now, we want to put the rest of the tree body down. And now we're going to do that. Oh, I think I did the wrong stump. Hold on. I did the wrong stump. Okay, I want to go to, so in this tile map, what I've done is I've shrunk down so they can be used for RTS games as well, but I've also shrunk them down as a reference. So this stump was for this tree. This stump is for this tree, and then I have this one smaller to show that it's a smaller tree than that one, even though the stump is smaller. They're just referencing from the trees which trees they're going to be used as, and then you can also use these as smaller if you want. So one thing I'll do here is I'll take this stump here and this tree here. Oh, turn off the erase. Take this, and I'm just going to put it right in the middle there. And then you can see that there's just a little bush stump there on the stump level, so you walk in front of it. But this is actually the one I want because there's the two size trees. It's for the bigger tree. I'm going to change the setup on that one. Oh. I'm going to go to that one. And I'm just going to edit these points. I already set them up. Edit polygons, move this out, and I'm going to move that up a bit, move that one up a bit, and move that one up a bit. And that way the player character can walk a little bit over the stump and he'll be overlapping a bit. Perfect, okay. Now I'm going to take that back to tile map, that's about where I want it. And I'm going to drop it right in the middle, right there. Boom. Okay. Now we're going to come to trees. And now we're going to select this one, which I've already set up here. I've cropped it out like I've shown you before. When you set up your tile set, you can erase and add squares to paint out. Maybe I'll do that on one here just to show you. Tile set. So what I can do here is I can go to setup. And then if I hold shift down, so it's got these set up in 32 by 32 grids. So if I hold shift down here, I can just grab this whole tree and I can make it just its own tile. And then I can come over here to tile map, and because I'm just going to put some trees on the map. There's some trees on the map, and those will probably be blocked off or whatever, right? So now what I want to do is I want to come over to this tree. And this is where it can be a little bit tricky because aligning these, you can't move this and align it all by itself. Now, I have it set up pretty good right now, but if I click that in and it's not exactly where I want it, what I can do is I can nudge it over with the arrow key, or up or down. And that's about where I want it right there. That looks pretty good. And so now this layer will be in front of the player. So then if he walks behind that, he'll go behind it. He's blocked off from walking behind it in front of it here, and it'll give me that Z layer. Now the problem with this moving around, I'm going to show you this here, is when I move that around with the arrow keys, you can see how the whole layer moves. So when you do that, the whole layer moves. Now you can do an offset origin in your tile setup, and you can adjust your grid snap. However, I've found that it doesn't always work perfectly. You can adjust them a little bit here and there in the tile. So if I come over here to tile set, where this little square is, I can come down here to select this tile, and I can actually come down here and adjust my texture origin. See, right now it's at X33 by Y203, so I can adjust it there a little bit, and that'll move it from the center slightly over one way or the other. And in theory, that's supposed to let you adjust when you're lining it up and snapping. The other place you can align it up is you've got your smart snap and your grid snap, and you can go in here and configure your snap, and you can adjust them here by X amount on a snap. So so there is that as well. So there is a little bit of fine tuning there. However, if you can just adjust the whole layer a little bit, then you're probably going to be better. So there, we've added that tree layer in, and we want to add make a little bit of a coniferous forest here. So what I'm going to quickly do here is I'm going to come over to here to my trees, and I'm not really worried about setting up any stumps for these. I'm just going to do it for quick purpose demos. I'm going to drag that in, automatically create tiles, and because I've made this tile set, this is just adding another tile to it. It's going to use the 32 by 32 and any settings we have in here. So just keep that in mind. But now that we've got that added in, we can come in here and we can set up our trees how we want to do it. And I'm just going to use this tree here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to erase all these. Find it takes longer sometimes just to erase these things than it is to set them up. All right, and now I'm just going to come in here, and I'm just going to go right there. Oh, I have erase on still. Sorry about that. Try that again. All right, so now I come over to tile set, and I'm going to put down a little bit of a coniferous forest here. And now that I've got a coniferous forest, I'm going to come back at a ground cover and ground cover. And then what I think I want to do is I want to throw some of these in here and put some bush in. Some of that bush in. There we go. And slap one there. Slap one there. Slap one there. Good enough. And throw a few leaves on there. No, we don't need any leaves. We're good. We're good. We're going to leave it like that. So now we got all that set up, and we'll just quickly jump in there. Now you can see here with those leaves and stuff on the ground. If I walk over to the stump, see I'm in front of the stump, but I can't walk up past it. I'm clicking. All right. Walk over to the side. I'm in front of the root, but I'm not in front of it. Oh, looks like I moved that over too far when I did that, but that's all right. And then I can walk behind it because I layered that, and I can walk behind the leaves. You can see my little character up there walking behind the leaves. And then there's the other forest. I'm walking behind all these. Now what I would do is I just kind of block these out, or I'd block out this whole region because that's basically the edge of the map and you wouldn't need to go over there for anything. And then same thing over here, you'd block out where you didn't want to go. But you can see how I've got now like a little bit of a forest ground here. Just by adding that ground cover in. And you can see here I've got a little bit too much light on these trees, so I'm going to have to go in and fix those a bit. A lot of these things I hadn't really previewed. I've been working on them, but I hadn't done more than just a quick preview before putting them in. I've got a little more cleanup here to do still. But you get the idea. All the art styles are pretty much the same. They all mesh smoothly together and they work with the tile sets. So yeah. That's what we've got. Now I'm just going to quickly there we go. Jump back in there real quick. That looks better. See? That tree looks real good now. Okay, so that's where I'm going to leave it for this one. So we've gone over the tile sets that I've been working on, a work in progress. Those will eventually be available on my itch.io page, and I'll do an actual video about how to set them up from square one and to use them in a project once I've got them to the point where I'm ready for them to deploy. This one's gone on for a little bit long now, but you get the idea behind where we're at, and we're ready for the next video where we can actually set up a tree to be able to have your character to chop down and gather resources from. So we'll get that set up in the next video, or maybe we'll set up the GUI first. We might set up a GUI first so that we can track the resources. Then in the following video, we'll set up the tree to chop down. All right, have a good one, and I hope to see you in the next one.